Sie hören Sport und Musik.
Das Spiel ist aus! Deutschland ist Weltmeister!
In a world where fans fight over whether to call it football, or soccer, two German men defy the odds and call it Fußball. Bringing you inside the German-American football experience. And now, here are your hosts, the Schnitzel Boys.
We're back, baby!
That's right.
We're back. It's the Schnitzel Boys coming at ya after an unexpected 2-week hiatus due to traveling and due to terrible global pandemic-related diseases. We had to take a step away from the limelight, and so much happened. But we're back.
So much happened.
We're here to talk about it all. We're here to talk about it all.
All
Bjorn, how you doing? Have you recovered?
I'm good. I survived the COVID.
Ah, you had COVID.
I had the COVID.
Oh.
Yeah.
I fear that a friend of mine who we were hanging out with, I think that's where you got it from. Maybe.
You told me that was
that's
your theory.
my theory.
I don't know.
And they still have it.
What?
They've been doing it for 3 weeks. Isn't that crazy?
Oh my God! What? No, that's crazy.
I mean, they're getting rid of it. It's on the tail end, but they still have the sniffles and stuff. And I'm like, because I left. So full story, I just did a recent big travel.
Right.
And I hung out with you in New York. And that was
lovely at the Kent Ale House.
Beautiful Kent Ale House. That was 3 weeks ago now, right?
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And that's where it started for them. And literally, they're still sniffling and stuff. And I'm like, that was 3 weeks ago. And today, get this. Today, when I was in line at a sandwich shop in Griffith Park, a friend of mine was randomly talking about long COVID, which I'd never heard of before.
Oh, yeah. People like to talk about that.
Well, I've never, long COVID. And then a guy right behind me is like, oh, I've had long COVID. I have it right now. And he was a really fit dude, but he's like, I got COVID a year ago. I had to go to the hospital before the thing. And ever since, I've had fatigue. I have muscle aches. I have diabetes. He said COVID gave him diabetes.
What?
I'd never heard that before. He just talks about all these problems. Now he just doesn't have the energy anymore. And he had COVID over a year ago, and he's still feeling all these terrible effects. And it's like, wow, I guess I didn't really realize that. You know,
that's horrendous. Yeah, no, people. That is a thing. People talk about it. I don't know. Hopefully, knock on something.
Not to scare you, my friend.
I know. I really hope. I really hope that's not happening. I feel I was not super sick. I mean, do we want to? It's so boring. But like anyway, I've.
Not to me, man. Your well-being is important to me.
And
we need to explain to the listeners why we were off for 2 weeks.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. No,
yeah.
I definitely, especially that first, because that was like I think the first time we postponed, I was like day 3 of my.
Right.
And I was definitely feeling it. You know, I had like my eye hurt weirdly. My right eye hurt a little bit for the first couple of days. Like if I was on screens for too long, like my right eye would really be uncomfortable. But in general, I was saying how this could be, in my case, it felt like a disease invented by Netflix because I felt completely fine as long as I didn't try to do anything else other than like watch Ozark or like just stream in my.
I wish I still had my X-Files drop.
Yeah, it was like. It was because I didn't feel sick when I was lying down. I was like, oh, I don't need to be lying down. But then when I tried to do anything else, like work or you know, really be on the computer for then I was like, oh yeah, I kind of am sick. And then I would also for a couple days before everybody else got it anyway, I tried to camp out in the office and was like isolating, hoping to not infect anyone. That didn't really work in the end. But for 3 days, I was kind of just hanging
Did your
out in
family
this.
get it? Did your family get it?
Eventually, almost all of them, except my daughter Ella,
Oh.
she didn't get it, but Max
Good.
and yeah,
Good genes. Good genes. Good genes.
that's what she says.
Yeah.
She says I'm built different. I was like, all right, don't get too invested in that idea. Hopefully it'll work. But yeah, so it wasn't.
So you heard it here first. It's called the Netflix disease.
Yeah,
Essentially,
like,
the only way to feel
all
better
you gotta
is to
do,
lie on a
all you
couch
can
and see
do is
Ozark, and you'll be fine.
watch Ozark. Yeah.
How
and,
far did you get into Ozark, by the way?
I got into the beginning of season 3. I had to take a break. That show is very stressful.
Yeah,
I
it's
find.
intense. I don't know if I
like-
got to season 3. I got through to, I think, middle of season 2, maybe.
These people have a death wish. They just like, I don't know. I'm just not. I guess I'm not a risk taker like that. I like the idea of you can be killed at work. It's like, no, I don't want that job. Then like I'll find something else.
I stream a Netflix. I stream the other Netflix show called Bjorn, and essentially it starts with you being offered to money laundry. You just go, no, thank you, and you switch careers, and you have a mild mannered career as a computer
like,
programmer.
No, I'm out. I'll just keep doing my TV thing, whatever. Zero, no, my life is not at risk. Yeah, no, that's why they don't make TV shows about me. Because
Speaking of TV shows, by the way, I got a new TV show. It's the best TV show in the world, and it kind of segues into the other part where we had to postpone, which is my crazy world travels.
Your European vacation.
Oh, I had my own National Lampoon's European vacation. It was so cool, Bjorn. And on my vacation, I flipped on the German television, which is always a treat, of whatever the heck they have on that thing. And I switched to the channel called D Max, Deutschland Max, which is, I think, a reality.
Not familiar.
It's one of the cable channels, a reality television. And I was watching a show called The Germinator, is what it was called. It was
called
The
that
Germinator.
Sounds amazing.
It is 100% amazing. And this is the premise of the show. It is a German man, a big, bald German dude from Berlin.
He's the Germinator?
He's the Germinator, and he's the sheriff of a small town in Texas called Hawkins, Texas. And this is a real sheriff and a real town, and the cameras follow him. It's like Cops, but just him and all these Texan yokels, these small town Texan yokels with their accents, be like, yeah, we'll come around, you know, and it's just the Germinator, and he speaks to the camera in German, and then everyone else is just dubbed. And I looked it up. It's only on German television. It's only on D-Max. And it's this German guy who's the sheriff of a small town. Shows him arresting people, giving tickets. He's just the sheriff. He's the Germinator.
That's amazing.
And it's real. And there's one episode where he goes to a barbecue, and he has homemade ketchup. He makes Rouladen, which is a very German thing, you know. Texans don't know. How would you describe a roulada to an American audience? It's like,
well, it's there's the cabbage kind and the meat kind. Which one are we talking about?
I'm thinking the meat because it's a barbecue, so it's like a meat kind.
And
he actually don't barbecue it. I don't know if he was barbecuing rouladen, but he was barbecuing something like that. And he was explaining what it was. It was just all these old Texan ladies just being like, "Oh my, how delicious! Did you make your German potato salad? Oh, you know how much I love your German potato salad, you know." And I'm just like, where has this show been in my life? This is an amazing show.
Why is this not in America?
It's not on American TV. I don't know what the problem is, dude.
That's crazy.
But anyway, for fans, go on YouTube. There are full episodes on YouTube.
Oh, it's available on the internet. Oh,
yeah,
good.
I think kind of elite, whatever. The Germinator. So that was my recommendation.
That's your
what I
find.
was streaming. That was that. So you were streaming Ozarks. I'm streaming the Germinator. All right, and I love it.
Way more. You're way more cutting edge than right. Ozarks. I was starting Ozark right after it finished. The final season.
Yeah, it got canceled.
Already out.
Isn't there?
I think it's not. I don't think it's canceled. I think they just finished the 4 seasons. Okay. Yeah, I think it ended.
So there is a conclusion.
There's a conclusion. Yeah, everybody keeps saying how season 4 is a masterpiece and just incredible. People are into it.
I got to get back on it. I love Breaking Bad, and Ozarks is a great show if you liked Breaking Bad because it has.
I think. Well, I thought the spoilers, I guess, are okay. Breaking Bad's been on for I mean, I think the fact that Walter White has terminal cancer makes it all a little
What?
more.
Oh, that's in the pilot. Sorry, it's the first episode.
The fact that he is terminally ill, I think, makes it more
compelling.
Makes this somehow more plausible. The idea of like, okay, he's going to turn his life upside down and do these things. Like, it seems motivated by, you know, his impending death. These people in Ozark, they have no such excuses.
They're just miserable people.
They're
failed
just
marriage.
They just they like voluntarily kind of descend into this world of you know, where like waterboarding is just part of your job, like getting tortured and like it's
like,
yeah, I don't know.
You know, although I work for a finance firm, I really launder the money of a Colombian drug lord for some reason, right? You know that, right?
It's just sort of it's as one does, right? As one does.
Even though I'm sure I'd make more money just being a Chicago firm, you know what I mean? Like, there's no reason to introduce the crime element.
Yeah, I mean that's the big distinction I would make between Ozark and Breaking Bad. Like, disbelief definitely needs to be suspended aggressively, especially when you watch the, you know, like I did, like very back to back, which I guess is the Netflix way in general. So it's not like it's not like I'm unique in that, but there's just a lot, you know, like the pace at which they kill off characters, and like it's all just a little much. After season 2, I had to take a little break, but I will finish it. I mean, obviously it's a very well made show. The cast is incredible. Everybody's very good, and it's just, you know, I'm just a wimp when it comes to fiction. I don't like to be stressed out by my entertainment.
Yeah, to each their own. There's all sorts. Maybe the Germinator can help you out.
I think the Germinator sounds like something I need to investigate for sure.
Last thing I'll say about the Germinator, he lives in a trailer.
So this is a permanent arrangement, or this is just for the sake of the show? When the show ends, he goes back to... Uh-oh, you're frozen. No, you're frozen. Okay, the broadcast is frozen. Stefan is, I'm sure he's still talking away and he just can't hear me. Yes, you did lose. He's texting me. Yes, you did lose connection. Yes, come back in. Let's see if he returns. Anyway, we are... Yes, Stefan. Oh, it's just me now. Stefan was in Europe. I'll let you tell him. I'll let him tell you. He was in Germany, in England. He saw a bunch of soccer. And we tried to have one show while he was in England, but that was the time difference was too much for us to overcome. And so we postponed, but a lot of things happened. The Bundesliga is done. NYCFC, this is going to be the Europe only episode, which Stefan suggested, and I think that was just because he didn't want to talk about how good NYCFC has been lately. 19 points out of their last 7 games, 19 out of 21. That was a very good run for them, but that's not what we're going to talk about when he comes back, because this is good. This is the Europe only episode. But I'm proudly wearing my my t-shirt because the team has been good despite having to overcome a bunch of injuries and CCL being double scheduled. They just came off of a victory against Chicago yesterday. And today we had the German relegation. We'll talk about that. And the end of the Bundesliga season, the Felix Magath derby today in the relegation playoff. Felix Magath past and present. That's something we'll talk about. And Stefan will tell us all about his trip down the wine country of Germany. He was in. He had a bunch of adult beverages of high quality. When he comes back, he will tell you. And yeah, I don't have a lot to report other than my bout of COVID, which lasted. I think I tested positive for like 8 or 9 days, and then it finally disappeared. And it is kind of, it still feels a little sensitive to exertion. I'm a little bit more exhausted or a little bit less energetic than I normally am. But I haven't, knock on wood, I have not felt that bad. Here he comes.
Sorry about
He's back.
That. My internet just failed. I don't know what happened. I'll cut this part out.
I've been rambling on. I've been saying how this is the Europe only episode, but I was speculating that you suggested that only because you didn't want to talk about how great NYCFC has been. So anyway, I just talked about that a little bit.
Well, I was going to say, Inter Miami took really good care of my New York Red Bulls yesterday. It was a confident 2-0 win for them. So well done to those little effers. But we had a pretty, I want to say we tied over the weekend. I mean, honestly,
against Chicago, which you were very fortunate because Gaga Slonina had an off day in a big way, because otherwise you would have lost that game as well.
Because he represented the United States. He chose to represent the United States.
He chose to represent. He announced that really at the worst possible time, considering he's really has not been good. I mean, he's a young player. Obviously, he's going to go through some ups and downs. But this was like after probably his worst game as a pro, he made this big announcement. It's like, well, does anyone want you to play for them currently?
Well, the dude's got talent. I know he's a little young. I just hope he doesn't get hampered with the pressure, because all our goalkeepers are on the bench, and we need a goalkeeper. Gaga Slonina might very well be our goalkeeper in November, man. I don't know. Never say never.
No way. He hasn't even been – he didn't even get called in.
I know. I'm just saying never say never. You never know. The World Cup is a beast of its own, and several teams, including the United States, usually have those weird wild card players that get included right before the tournament start. And their only games, are Julian Green, right? Like the only games are like the games they play.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it seems,
and then it's just like,
no, it's true. The latest roster was not super adventurous. I mean, he called in
Haji
Wright. That was big, and Joe Scally finally
Haji Wright, you're up.
Haji Wright's getting his. I mean, the number 9 spot is wide open. Even
He's
Brendan
been scoring.
Brendan Vasquez almost got a call up.
Well, Haji Wright used to play in Germany, used to play in Schalke, and that dude couldn't buy a goal. Like he scored 2 goals for Schalke, and it was like they gave it to him on a silver platter. And and it was because they were terribly injury ravaged. And even after that, I was like, I still don't have faith in this guy. But then he went to Turkey. Maybe he's a little bit of a better, well-rounded player. We'll see. He's been scoring well in Turkey, and the Turkish league is a pretty decent league. A pretty high level, and you know what I mean? He's an American who's scoring goals in Europe, so
we'll
put on that shirt and play that number 9, my
Anybody
friend.
That spot, Pepe didn't even get called in. He's dropped off the radar, and we'll see. No Jimmy Sands, and the all backup goalkeeper lineup. It seems that's not a problem for Greg.
Nope,
none of these guys are going to get a lot of time before the World Cup. So,
and Breeze Samba, the starting goalkeeper of Nottingham Forest.
Oh, Nottingham Forest. Yeah, he crushed it.
He had like 5 world-class saves. He's probably about to win goalkeeper of the year again.
He's
about to be the championship goalkeeper of the year again.
He ain't going anywhere, and they can make it to the Prem if they beat Huddersfield on whenever that is. Saturday or Sunday. Sunday, okay.
I think it's considered the most expensive game in soccer or something.
The most riding on it, right? I have a good friend. Shout out to Mark Faison. He's a Forest fan, and he's very excited. He was showing me today. He's got a T-shirt from the Nottingham Hooters that he's going to wear. I guess it's going to be a big.
Not a jersey.
No, he's got a Hooter. Well, because he grew up in Florida, in the same town where the original Hooters originated, so he feels some connection to the franchise.
I didn't know Hooters was a Floridian store.
Oh, yeah,
but
yeah.
I should have known that, right? It makes sense.
It's not right. It doesn't surprise when one learns that fact. Yeah.
So we could do this episode a few different ways. We can do it. We can do it. There's two things. A, my trip. I'd love to dissect it.
I want to hear about that.
Soccer trip. I'm wearing one of my many mementos I brought back with me.
Oh, nice.
I'm wearing a
the Clint Dempsey Fulham shirt. Yeah, you showed that to me. Yeah, very nice.
Right? That I bought. At
the twofer, right? You got the twofer.
I also got Brian McBride.
Clint Dempsey, Brian McBride twofer, Fulham twofer. Tim Ream? Did they throw out a Tim Ream? You buy two, you get a free Tim Ream? No?
No, that they had to pay for that. And I'm like, you know what? Nobody's paying for Tim Ream, so I'm not going to pay for it either. But I love my Tim Ream. You know what they also had next to those three shirts? They had a Brede Hageland shirt. Do you know who that is?
No.
He was a Norwegian defender, center back for Fulham, and he's a Norwegian international or Norwegian player. However, he was born in Houston, Texas. I think his parents were just there on a research leave or something. So his shirt was right next to the other three. And the joke is he's like an honorary American as part of the Full America deal because he was born in Texas. He's Texas born. Not too far from where the Germinator
so you can get the forfer deal?
Get the
but you didn't want
like
you
40
didn't
pounds.
You went for Brian
McBride and Dempsey, the two legends for Fulham.
Fair.
So let's start with my trip, and then we'll talk about major events. We had relegation playoff today. We had
today the Magat Bowl.
Magat Bowl.
Felix Magath past and present.
Felix Magath past and present bowl. Over the weekend, we had a German team winning a European title. Over the weekend, we had a corporate German club beating the People's Club for a domestic title. We also had last weekend, we had Stuttgart with Endo scoring in the stoppage. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about.
Matarazzo saved himself in the last second. Yes.
But let's
talk about
your
trip.
Okay.
Let's talk about you.
Let's talk about me. So I hang out with you in New York. It was lovely. We watched what game did we watch? We watched a great.
It was City. It was a Premier League game. It was City against Leeds.
Oh yeah,
and we also watched. There was a Bundesliga game too. Wolfsburg and
Hoffenheim.
Hoffenheim. Yeah, I don't remember. I
think we've had an episode since, so maybe we did talk about because we did have an episode a couple days later. But then I went to London, England, and I did 2 football-related things in London, England. Well, I did 3. First thing is I went to a local footy pub with a friend of a friend. And I watched Liverpool's Champions League game. However, at the exact same time as Liverpool's Champions League game, who did they eliminate in the semis? Remind me. It was the minnow club, Villarreal. Right?
It was Villarreal.
Yeah. Liverpool, Villarreal, and Liverpool had a great second half, and it was the second leg. But at the exact same time, a bunch of Bournemouth fans were watching the Bournemouth game because Bournemouth won promotion to the Prem.
By beating Forest.
So Forest isn't out, but Bournemouth were in, and they were celebrating, and it was a big deal, and it was like time to celebrate. So that was the first thing
I watched that game at Smithfield in Manhattan.
Oh, on 20
because of my Forest friend Mark. Yes.
Nice. Was Grant Wall there? That's his usual stopping ground, apparently.
I did not see him, no. But I went. No, I know what he looks like. I would have probably. No, he wasn't. I don't think he was there.
But that's his local water.
He doesn't cover the championship.
No, but it was a great game. It was a lot of fun. Liverpool. It was fun to be in the atmosphere with all the Liverpoolian fans and scouts. It was so much fun. And then on Saturday, I went to Craven Cottage, the home of Fulham Football Club, and I did a tour of the stadium. And it was almost like playing English Premier League cosplay. Because we had to line up outside the stadium, we had to pretend to run on the field through just like the players.
Oh, yeah!
It was like, hey, this is fun. This is like freaking soccer fan cosplay.
I did that at the Bayern Stadium in Allianz Arena. They don't let you go on the field, but they let you go through the tunnel, and they play the Champions League music, and it doesn't fail. It does give you little goosebumps. It's definitely effective.
I know, it's cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool. And then I went in the old stands. They went in the locker room where they have Tim Ream and Anthony Robinson sitting right next to each other. They put the two Americans right next to each other. We got to see
so that they can
rooms.
speak American with each other.
Yeah. Even though Anthony Robinson is, essentially a British dude, but to each their own. Jedi Robinson. And then the stadium is a beautiful little stadium right on the Thames. And what they had once upon a time was a bar called McBride's, named after Brian McBride. Unfortunately, that whole stand was torn down, and they're renovating it and made a nice big, more modern stand right on the Thames. However, the tour guide, the host, said, although nothing's been officially announced, there's a good chance that in the new stand with the new bar, they might revive McBride's. So I'm hoping that's true. There was a Michael Jackson statue once upon a time.
Tells that to the Americans.
Yeah, he's lying. They're probably going to name it nothing. Maybe they'll name it Reams. I don't know. But there was a Michael Jackson statue in front of the stadium. They have removed that in 2014.
Why? Oh,
because of the Michael Jackson allegations.
But why did they have a statue there of him in the first place?
I don't remember the story. The owner was a fan or something. All I know is for some reason there's a Michael Jackson statue in front of Craven Cottage. No more. The new stand is going to have a hotel, a pool, a gym, like all this thing. And it's going to be on the Thames, and it's going to be open 24/7, so people can just walk through the stadium when you're walking along the Thames. It's going to be very pretty. And when you sit in the top row of this new stand, you're looking away from the Thames, looking to North London, and you're going to see the whole London skyline. You're going to see the Eye. You're going to see the Gherkin, which is that like silver sort of bullet.
And you're going to see this while you're in a pool and working out?
Yeah. I'm just like, yo, Fulham, you're a championship club, but very creative, very good word. So,
well, the Portland.
I think I'm officially it's like
Fulham
the Portland
fan?
Timbers. Yeah. I think I'm
the Portland Timbers. They have a gym. There's a gym where you can watch the game from the.
Do they have a hotel where you can spend the night?
No, I don't think so. I think this is not. In the case of the Timbers, this is just happenstance. I don't think it's designed that way. It's just the.
Well, Fulham designed it that way. You know what? I might spend a couple nights at the Fulham Hotel, my friend. Maybe one of these days, and swim around while the football. So that was it. Then Sunday, I went to a match. Our friend Jesse Marsh, formerly of RB Leipzig, formerly of New York Red Bulls. I watched the Arsenal Leeds game, and I sat up sort of in the nosebleeds on a ticket that I haphazardly got my hands on at 3 a.m., refreshing the site. And to my left was an American dude from Nashville, Tennessee, who's a season ticket holder of Nashville SC. He was on a big European vacation with his wife. I think he was doing London, Paris, Rome, like Barcelona, and Berlin, or all in like one trip.
Wow.
It like blew my mind. I'm like, dang, you're doing all of Europe in one trip. So more power to him. And then to my right was a dude from Glasgow whose girlfriend bought him a ticket for his birthday. It was my birthday too. For him to finally go down to London and see his favorite Arsenal team play. So for the three of us, all three of us, we were on vacation, and it was our first Arsenal game. We've never been to Arsenal before. So it was a lot of fun. The stadium is amazing. When you get off the tube or whatever, there's the Arsenal stop. It has its own stop off the train.
Yeah.
And you just follow everyone and past all the stands.
Yeah, you go through all these it's like it's cool.
It's a little suburban, like with a bunch of row houses.
They also have a gigantic gift shop.
Stadium.
I remember
huge gift shop.
I remember there being an enormous gift shop.
And they have right outside the stadium, right over the bridge, they have these giant letters that says Arsenal built out like a modern art piece. It's a very cool little area. It's just, London's where football's from, and London's just a big old city full of a bunch of stadiums and teams. So it's just very cool for like a footy fan to go and do that sojourn. The game was lovely. I thought Arsenal would have won 6-0. They were just crushing Leeds. And Leeds got this really stupid red card, so they were down 10 men.
What was it? Luke Ayling, like taking out the corner flag and everything around it?
Literally, when I saw it, I was like, that's brutal. And VAR, I have a video of it, of the ref going, checking the VAR, getting the yellow card, and upgrading into a red and knocking the guy out. So it's 2 goals up, 2 goals down and a man down. Then 2 goals up and a man down. No, excuse me, 2 goals down and a man down. But they came out in the second half. They came swinging. They pulled one back. And they were so close to getting an equalizer. They really had a great, strong second half. And it was a winnable game. or a tieable game. I mean, it was a really stupid red card. The first goal was a total goalkeeper error from the Leeds goalkeeper. It was a very avoidable result. Thankfully, spoiler alert, Leeds did not need points from that game because they got a great 2-1 win against Brentford on their last round to just put themselves
Jack
above
Harrison.
Oh,
Jack
NYCFC
Harrison
zone.
got it. Yeah, Leeds was. I was texting my friend, my friend who's a Leeds fan. I was like, MLS saved your ass.
What did he say?
He said, amazing. His response was
nice.
amazing.
You Americans don't know anything about footy.
What is he going to say? He's going to, I mean, he can. What were you talking? Well, you were in, it was an Arsenal home game, so you didn't get to talk.
To Jesse Marsch?
You didn't,
no.
Well, or to any Leeds fans about how they feel about Jesse Marsch. Okay, tell us about that.
You know me. Of course I did. There was a big fight afterwards between a Leeds fan and Arsenal fan. There was like beautiful hooliganism I was looking forward to.
Like fisticuffs?
Yeah, a little bit. A guy fell over, a little fighting. And then a bunch of cops on horses. It wasn't that big of a deal. I've seen bigger brawls at MLS games. But like horses coming back, and it was just a drunk fan. But I followed a Leeds fan down the street off to the tube. And I was like, how do you feel? And pretty much, I'm just, how do you feel about Marsch? And the Leeds fan told me, he's like, Marsch was put in a really bad situation. They should have hired him earlier. They should have waited and hired him over the summertime. It was weird to hire him now, which is true, I believe. That's A. B, he's like, really, we need to keep an eye on Burnley, and like he thinks Marsch is doing a good job. However, like his sentiments were like, this was a really winnable game. This was a really winnable game. We should have tied this game. Like, we threw it away, and he was right. It was a silly red card. It was a terrible goalkeeper error. Like, they could have gotten points from this game. I mean, Arsenal had a big game against Tottenham the following Thursday that they lost 3-0, right, or 4-0. Got the score at the time. Mm-hmm. So Arsenal are not as much of a juggernaut as I like to think they are. But overall, the sentiments were okay.
Missed out on Champions League.
Champions League, right? I think Tottenham grabbed that spot, right?
That's right.
Which is a huge, and those are huge rivals. Tottenham was the next stadium up.
Yeah, that was a big deal for Tottenham to beat them like that, and Anyway,
well, good for them, much deserved. So it seems that the small sample size of Leeds fans I talked to seem still positive about it, and they must love it now because he did it. He tied against Brighton, which was scary. He was supposed to win against Brighton. He didn't. He tied Brighton, but he beat Brentford in Brentford. Great result. They just avoided the drop. So mission accomplished, Jesse Marsch.
Marsh Madness.
Marshmallow Man Madness.
Ted Lasso, they call him.
The great Ted Lasso, who hopefully will get rid of that moniker at some point. So that was my sort of England sojourn. And it was lovely. Then I took a little old Ryanair plane and flew to merry old Hamburg in Germany, our old neck of the woods. And I took an intercity express train from Hamburg to Frankfurt. It was a 3.5-hour train ride.
Amazing. Huh? That's amazing.
It's a 6-hour car ride, right?
6-hour car ride. Autobahn, no speed limit, doesn't matter. 6 hours, yeah.
5 to 6 hours. Train was 3.5 hours. It was so cool. And then I got I took a local train. I went to German wine country. And on match day 34, I went to the Mainz-Frankfurt game, the Rhine Derby. Mainz and Frankfurt are about an hour apart from each other, so they're neighbors. And I was sitting in the section that had surprising amount of Frankfurt fans in it. And I was worried that this would be kind of a boring game, right? 9th and 10th place. They're both literally the two clubs right in the middle. It's a total hose game. You can't really get anything out of it. They're just playing. But I had a blast. The sun was out. The weather was lovely. It was like an all-day long fest. So from the Mainz main train station, there was just an army of fans. And they had trams and buses busing fans out to the stadium constantly. For free, by the way. Getting fans to the stadium. And it's like 20 minutes outside the city. And it's just this giant stadium in the middle of a giant cow field of just the Mainzer stadium. And you go to the stadium, and there's a bunch of beer booths and pretzels and Wurst booths, and there's a live stage where a band is playing. So it's like it's like it's like a summer fest. People are just there all day, hanging out, drinking, having a good time. Then it's time for the game to start. I go inside the stadium, I sit in my seat or whatever, and then they have the stadium announcer running around and cheering up every stand. He's like, "This stand, how are you doing? Boo, boo, boo." And they're like, "Today is the last game of number 10, Daniel Boo, boo, boo." I forgot the name. I should have looked it up. And everyone gave him a loud applause because he must have been a player they liked. And it was his last game of the season. So it had a real family feel to it. And it was just so lovely. And the game was a lot of fun. It was a crazy back and forth 2-2 game. And the Frankfurt fans were lighting off flares. And it was just a really fun atmosphere.
They were warming up for their trip to Spain, yeah.
At the end of the game, they were singing these songs at each other, once about relegating and yada, yada. But the Eintracht Frankfurt fans were very confidently singing, "Wir sind Europameister," which means we are the European champions.
Yeah.
They were just singing that 3 days before the final. So very confident.
Turned out to be correct.
Spoiler alert, turned out to be correct. And then when the game was over, you could go outside where they had a concert playing, or you could stay in the stadium.
Who was playing? Anybody? Were you enjoying the music?
It was lovely. It was a bunch of American covers of great songs. I have video footage of it. I can probably play it somewhere. I'll do this later. Hi, Daniel. Young, he, him, his. Daniel Young with your pronouns. Thank you. I'm also he, him. I'm Stefan, he, him. Nice to meet you, Daniel. Hello. Just saying hi. He's in the chat. I'm just in the middle of my Mainz Frankfurt story when I was in Germany. So you go out to this concert, or you could stay inside where all the fans were hanging out, and the players were sort of saluting them for the end of the year and having a great year, and all the fans were saying their goodbyes to the players who were running out their contracts, and they were playing highlight videos on the screen. Like in no way were we encouraged to leave. It was all about hanging out.
Well, it's the last day of the season. Yeah. Everybody's hanging out.
It was a party, and it was so much fun. And the only other thing I want to bring up, crap, vamp for me. I brought a little something, but it's in the other room.
Oh, okay. Okay, Stefan is getting his surprise reveal from his German trip. What could it be? Mainz versus Frankfurt. He bought I'm going to guess it's a Mainz branded Stein, a beer Stein. That's what it's going to be. That is my guess. Let's hear it. Oh, I guess.
You guessed it exactly correctly, my friend. You guessed exactly correctly. So for our viewers, for Daniel, Alfonso Davies is amazing.
Oh, this is the cup that I must have remembered this subconsciously. This was the stackable cup you were so impressed with.
So Germans are very efficient. And the way it works in Germany in general is there's something called Pfand. Germans love their Pfand. Bjorn, would you like to explain to our English audience what Pfand is?
Well, it's a bottle deposit. We have it in the U.S. It's usually pretty...
But the behavior is not the same.
It's not the same. No, it doesn't... Well, the amount is so much smaller that it doesn't... The incentive is not the same.
But in Germany, it's a bottle deposit. But like literally anywhere in the country, just leave bottles behind. Someone will snap it up. Or they're like, "What are you doing? You're supposed to go return that." You can return it in a lot of different places.
And you get and it's not like here in New York, a bottle deposit is 5 cents. In Germany, it's like 50 cents.
Is that true?
Yeah,
I threw away a lot of bottles I should have returned then.
Well, that's why a lot of people go through the garbage around here and collect them.
I was helping the German economy a little bit, but so this is a Mainz plastic cup. This is a €2 fund. It's €2. So it works as you buy one of these, and this is your cup. You can put whatever you want in it. This is a hollow sort of stem, so you can stack 3 or 4 or 5 on top of each other and carry them all in the same sort of, just carry them all in one hand. Very, very genius coming up to your seat. And then when you're done, you go and you return it for your funds because and it leaves no trash left behind.
Except you didn't. You kept it because you wanted to keep it.
I wanted a souvenir. I
Um,
figured it's €2. I can stuff my socks in it because I travel light. It was a good souvenir.
When it comes to beer drinking, German ingenuity has no rival.
That's right. Second to none. They built their cars based on the fact that how much they wanted to drink. Okay, we got Daniel Young.
Daniel wants to know if Bayern should buy Tati Castellanos. I mean, if Lewandowski leaves, they might as well, right? Not that they're not.
Might as well. Is that a like for like? Come on.
Well, there's no like for like. There's no like for Lewandowski. Who can you get?
You know who should buy Tati Castellanos? Augsburg. Because they need a goal scorer up top. Yeah, they need a guy who scores a goal up top.
They should bring Pepe back.
Tati Castellanos is talented, but Bayern München or Dortmund is a little bit too much of a step up.
I don't think so. I heard West Ham. West Ham is still looking at Tati Castellanos. West Ham
I'm not against that.
Is West Ham not better than Dortmund these days? I don't know. Maybe, perhaps.
No, I mean, who eliminated West Ham from the Europa League? Remind me again. Oh, right, Eintracht Frankfurt.
It was Eintracht Frankfurt. That's true.
So if you're measuring that stick, then no, they're not.
Well, but obviously there were a lot of odd results in the Europa. You know, like the Rangers
did knock out Dortmund.
Knocked out Dortmund. Do I think like Rangers are better than? Not really.
It's hard to tell.
It's very that's what makes these knockout rounds interesting because you really don't know. But
my thing is though, a remarkable MLS goal scorer. It's just apples and oranges. That doesn't directly translate to Europe. And if you're going to go to Europe and be an effective goal scorer, like from MLS, I would say go to Köln or something. Go to a mid-table club. Go to Mainz. Going straight to Bayern München from MLS is a tough for anyone.
But they are not. I don't think Mainz will pay a $50 million transfer fee or whatever.
No, you have to wait till he's a free.
Whatever they. Well, that's not happening. Tati's got a. He's not leaving on a free. That is not an option. He's going to somewhere for big money. And I don't think Bayern. Bayern. I mean, I love Tati Castellanos as much as a member of my family, but I don't think he'll.
That's saying a lot, by the way.
I don't think he'll go to Bayern. But he seemed to want to go to Argentina because he had this idea that if he was playing in his home country, he would have a better chance of making the World Cup squad. He had some kind of ideas of that happening,
true.
Which that seems true. At this point for this year, that seems like a long shot for him to make that team. But anyway, you don't know. You don't know what these players. I don't think. I mean, the Jimmy Sands to Rangers loan. He seemed to want to do that. I don't think that was a great move for him. I don't know. We don't always. It's not always easy to tell what these players want and how they envision their careers to go. So we'll see. But it does seem like Tati is going to go someplace, and that's going to be. Well, we're not talking about NYCFC, but we're gonna. That's
just from
he'll
the
be
chat.
He'll be hard to replace.
We're an interactive show from the chat.
Right.
I mean, James Sands got a few minutes in the Europa League final.
That was weird, right? Like all of a sudden, after he really hasn't played much, it's like, go get him, kid.
So anyway, Mainz Frankfurt was lovely. Great last day of the game. 3 days later, Eintracht Frankfurt and all the Frankfurt fans, the Mainz fans were having a pretty good time. They weren't fighting as hard as the Arsenal Leeds fans were. They were singing fun songs to each other, but at the end of the day, they're neighbors, and it was all fine. So Frankfurt went to Sevilla, and they played the surprise of the season, Glasgow Rangers. And it was a pretty tough game. It was pretty tight. I think Eintracht Frankfurt maybe had the more dominant 90 minutes. They had the better chances.
Yeah, I definitely thought so, but they did not convert.
They held tight,
and in the end, it could have really gone either way.
And only one player missed a penalty. A lot of really great well-taken penalties, especially Kamada. His penalty was so good. Off the post. In and
Yeah,
out.
the penalties were generally very good, except the Aaron Ramsey one. Somebody was telling me there was a theory that Aaron Ramsey missed his penalty on purpose because he was subbed in after Jimmy Sands, and he was upset about that. Which I love that. I love that so much.
Crazy
I don't think.
theory.
I mean, that cannot possibly be true. But
that reminds me,
incredible.
I have a small side quest as part of my European football journey. So I was in a small town somewhere along the line waiting for the train, and a dude with a Borussia Mönchengladbach jersey is just hanging out next to me. An older dude covered in paint. I think he was one of the painters, painting a house nearby. And I talked to him about football. I'm like, oh, Gladbach, they're having a good season. He's like, well, no, not really. It's like kind of boring, but whatever. And then I forgot we were talking to God knows what. And he says, you know the curse of Mateos, right? And I was like, no, tell me. And when Mateos, because Lothar Matthäus, the German legend, is from Gladbach originally.
He was a Gladbach guy.
His last game for Borussia Mönchengladbach was against Bayern München, and he stepped up to take a penalty, and he skyrocketed it. And the next season, he played for Bayern München. And sort of the rumor is, or the talk amongst the fan is, he missed it on purpose not to piss off a club he wanted to sign for.
Ooh.
That's an example of like a Gladbach lore, something those clubs have, like New York Red Bulls. We have the curse of Caracola. Nikola Caracola scored no goal in I think the opening game or opening season, and we've just had bad luck ever since. That's why we've never won an MLS Cup. But anyway, so that was a little Deutsches Fußball lore.
Yep.
NYC definitely took care of business against teams that they are supports to beat. That's 7 wins and 2 draws in all competitions.
That's what I was saying. The last took 19 out of the last 21 points. Beat the Chicago Fire. Yes. That was a little soft this most recent game. We got a sort of a lucky penalty but hit the crossbar a couple times against Chicago.
Against the highest paid player in the league. Did you know that? Yeah,
he looks like he's using some of that money on some deep dish pizza in Chicago. He looked
chunky. Yeah,
we were joking. They had this. I don't have his name. One of the MLS referees. Can't remember his name, but he seems to, like he's a little bit on the hefty side, and that seems to have gotten worse during COVID. And I was joking how they put him into this game so that Shaqiri looks a little slimmer by comparison. Because
those are our lures. MLS is trying to
we're just
put out a bunch of fires, making up stuff.
Shaqiri. It was funny because there was a whole cheering section. There was a whole they handed out Swiss flags and Swiss hats, and yesterday at Citi Field, and there was a whole section of Shaqiri fans, and they did not have a lot to cheer about. He is he also, anyway, he's playing the number 10. I don't think that's a good position for him, and this Chicago team is a little bit of a mess, and so.
What's new in Chicago, right?
They spent some money, but yeah.
You have to make $8.5 million a year to eat deep dish pizzas. Trust me, you can make way less. Just eat deep dish pizzas.
Well, I don't know. He seems to. Maybe he's just getting used to the. Yeah, I don't know. Anyway.
He's loving his
not
time.
Not that we need to be. Not that I'm in a position to make fun of anybody's weight or anything.
Right.
Like that's not what I'm saying. But I don't think. Just him being the highest paid player in MLS and taking up half of Chicago's payroll. It's just
half of their buffet. After the buffet.
Exactly. He eats half of. If I make half the money, I eat half the food.
The both sausage. Okay, so the NYCFC is top of the East right now, right? Doing great.
No,
However, I hate to break it to you guys.
No, Philadelphia passed us on Sunday night after winning.
On Sunday. Second half of the season is the season. So if you can keep it up, Keep it up. Good on you.
As far as I'm aware, and correct me if I'm wrong, the points that you get early in the year count the same amount
You're
than
wrong.
the ones that you get. What?
You're wrong.
Is that
You're
not
wrong.
true?
They get canceled halfway before the big friendlies come along. No, I know, but I'm just saying, keep the heat up, my friends. I'm just saying, keep the heat up. Keep the heat up.
I think we intend to. I think we intend to keep the heat up.
And
I mean, it was definitely. You could see yesterday how when Tati's not playing, Tati was out because of yellow card accumulation, and that definitely the offensive bite of this team really suffers without him. And it was a pretty good. It was pretty hot yesterday, and the team had played on Wednesday, and so there were other mitigating factors. But you can see without Tati, it's not the same.
Well, I think it's really important to win the Supporters' Shield because if you win the Supporters' Shield, that means historically you do really, really well in the playoffs. So well done, you guys. I really hope you win the Supporters' Shield, and that'll guide you.
Well, but the other, we want the other.
I'm being
facetious. We already got the other trophy, so we can now fill out the collection with other things like the big trophy we already have. So. In fact, if you would like to come to a game, so before every game they have this on display. You can stand next to it. You can have pictures taken.
Really?
Yeah.
I'll come out.
Pictures taken with the MLS Cup. I mean, it would be a nice opportunity for you, right, to get a close look of the.
Trust me, I've seen enough. I'll see it close enough. According to Daniel Young, Stefan is sounding like he has a plan for Red Bulls to sweep NYCFC this year. Again, nice job, Stefan. I do have a plan.
We'll see.
I do have a plan, and it's when we play, we win. Okay, baby. You know what I have a photo of on my phone of a trophy case, an Intertoto Cup.
Oh,
I took a picture of it. I was like, hey, what's that? When you look at a club like Fulham. It's a trophy case full of a bunch of bonkers little titles and trophies.
Do you remember the Intertoto? I remember the Intertoto Cup.
The modern day Conference League essentially took over.
Well, no, because
back in the day, the Intertoto Cup. Well, you tell the.
Well, it was a preseason thing. It was a preseason. Sure? Yeah. Because Toto
it was throughout the year.
No, it's because Toto. Is what Toto is?
No.
Toto is like it's lotto. You know what lotto is?
Oh, lottery.
You pick random numbers, and but Toto is you pick win, lose, or draw on a slate of games, soccer games.
Okay.
That's what Toto is, and so in order to have the game Toto available in the off season. They would have the Intertoto Cup, the international. So it would be like a random preseason tournament with international teams. It was
just built for betting.
It was usually, and it was these games were just there so that you could bet on them. And there was a trophy, the Intertoto Cup.
That's right.
And I guess it was
Fulham
mostly
Football
second.
Club won it one of these years.
It was mostly like second rate. Like Bochum would be in the Intertoto Cup.
Well, I remember Schalke, I think, won it once. All right. I thought it was like the third tier European because it was between European clubs.
I am completely. I told you all this from memory, and so
you're probably right.
But I think this is what happened. Yeah.
But I think it's considered like the third tier trophy, the Champions League Elite.
Oh, certainly
back then it was the UEFA Cup.
It was certainly very low rent because it's basically like a glorified preseason friendlies, but with some people could bet on them. That's why they exist.
I got it around here somewhere. Yeah, 100%. So that's just another Fulham side job. So anyway, back to Europe, right? Eintracht Frankfurt won UEFA, the Europa League, so a title for another German club, which is good. Good for them. And then on the weekend,
the only losers of that whole event were I'm imagining were the citizens of Seville, because that town must have gotten
they're like, who are
absolutely
all these
annihilated in the process.
Yeah. And we had the DFB Pokal between the People's Club Freiburg and the
Yeah.
evil corporate club, or Red Bull Leipzig,
And
RB Leipzig.
Freiburg had every chance, and they just pissed it away.
They were dominant. They were up a goal. 75 minutes in, you thought Freiburg were had it in the bag. And then
They were
RB
up a
Leipzig
man. They
were up a man and a goal. RB Leipzig got an equalizer, pushed him to penalties,
Christopher Nkunku.
and beat him at penalties. Young Tyler Adams coming off the bench, getting a few minutes, just like James Sands, getting those last few minutes just to be on the field to win that cup. And RB Leipzig won their first ever trophy.
Yeah, and they certainly didn't care that nobody else was rooting for them. They seemed extremely excited about it.
They were all about it.
And good for them, yeah.
And that's that's why I have respect for Leipzig fans, because they're like, we're rooting for this club. We don't care that you hate us. It's the only club we have. It's the only club we have, so we're gonna root for them. You know what I mean? What other options do they have?
I think it's Anyway, I've said this before. I am no fan of the whole Red Bull empire personally, but I think they get a little more grief than they deserve. It's not like these other clubs are all charity organizations. I mean, they're all professional.
It's not like they're funded by all that terrible Middle Eastern oil money and things like that.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Like the current English champion, also the current second place MLS Eastern Conference team. Am I
meant to get upset now?
No. I'm just saying it's like people criticize like RB Leipzig, but that's only a thing in Germany.
No, there's
it's the way they
right.
operate is just normally how clubs are operated anywhere else. So, and like I said, if I'm in Leipzig and people are criticizing me rooting for my club, it's like we don't have a choice. It's like
it's not like there's a lot of high level soccer in the former East Germany. So it's like, I think. Yeah, good for them. Congratulations. And Freiburg, I mean, they had every chance, and they really couldn't do it.
So they got their silver medal this year, but they still had a good season overall. Frankfurt, good season.
For sure,
Freiburg, good season. RB Leipzig had a decent season. They salvaged themselves after the terrible start to the Jesse Marsch campaign.
And Dortmund had their third best season ever, but that was not enough for Marco Rose to keep his job. He got. What do you think about that?
I think that
just as a little throw in. Oh, hey Tom. Yes, good to see you too. Yeah,
thanks for coming back.
Stefan survived his European vacation, and I survived the COVID, and we're back.
And we're back, and we're ready to keep talking soccer. Yeah, like I said, this whole episode will be put out on podcast form or on the YouTube. So if you want to look. If you want to go back and check out my European stories, they're there. We're just finishing up with Europe right now. Dortmund, I mean, I want to talk about, they got rid of Marco Rose. I think that's a mistake. You know who the coach of the year is, by the way, in my mind, is
Pellegrino Matarazzo. Who?
Oliver Glasner. Oliver Glasner is the coach of the year.
He is?
Frankfurt coach, yeah. He left Wolfsburg. And Wolfsburg had a dumpster fire of a season. And he went to Frankfurt, which people thought would step down, and then won the Europa League with Frankfurt.
Yeah. All right, fair.
If I'm Borussia Dortmund, I spare no expense. I'm hiring Oliver Glasner this summer. That's what I'm hiring.
Oh, well, they already got Eden Terzic.
He's not good. He's not a good enough coach. We'll see. I think they should have stuck with Marco Rose.
We'll see. I mean, I think it was a little harsh because obviously they had some problems.
Right.
The defense was, but he had no transfer windows. He did not have any really. These were not his players, Marco Rose. He did not get. He was sort of stuck with a squad that was not his, and that was they had a lot of injuries. Blah blah blah.
They got rid of their head physio
distractions.
For that reason.
They had a lot of problems, and so I don't know. I thought that was a little harsh. I thought he deserved maybe a little better. And but the Terzic is very compelling. He's a man of the city. He's a Dortmund
it's a club
original, and we'll see. We'll see. It'll be interesting. I mean, I guess they. Yeah, I mean, I think we've been sort of calling them out all year about like not being ambitious enough and not
Right.
being competitive enough. And so I guess in that sense, we should applaud that they think it's not good enough. But they've also been a mess. They've been like they haven't had
Yeah.
real direction in the way the squad is put together. And so, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Good luck.
This could be a clue to a bigger issue, which we've heard before. I know Thomas Tuchel had problems with, I think, Watzke, the Sportdirektor, or the chairman of the board there. It could be that maybe they had problems with Marco Rose because he didn't do enough of what they said, and they brought in a company dude to just be quiet and do what they tell
Well,
him.
it also sounded like Rose felt like he didn't have their backing. It sounded
Right.
the way obviously I wasn't there, but the way that it came across was like it didn't seem like they went into this end of season meeting knowing they were going to let him go. It just seemed like everybody was sort of like, well,
The rest of us are fine, so we'll keep our jobs.
and then he also was like, oh, you guys are not really backing me, so then what's the point? And well, Tom is asking the same thing that happened to Marsch at Leipzig. I mean, Leipzig was really struggling. Dortmund is second, right? Like they finished second, and I think they had the best. There were some. I mean, offensively, it was one of their best seasons ever. 85 goals, and
Marsch apparently pitched himself to leave.
well,
I don't know if
right.
Marco Rose did the same thing.
Marsch took himself out and said,
Exactly,
"Oh, I'm
that's what I'm
not the
saying.
right guy." But they were expecting to be in the Champions League, and they were
Which
sort of
just luckily pulled off.
right. They would, but
RB Leipzig had
I'm
a
saying
pretty
like there was more
guaranteed
urgency to it. If you told Dortmund before the
Yeah.
season you're going to finish second,
Right.
they'll be like, "All right, yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably what's going to happen."
Yeah,
So
exactly. It is hard. It is harsh, I think.
and with all the injuries, and yeah, I mean they've already signed like 2 new center backs. I think there's
but the
there's going to be some turnover, but
the other thing is they're way too lackadaisical to Erling Haaland. They're like, you need to go, you need to find a new club, and you got his big money move to Manchester City, and Dortmund's like, good, we're a business, we're about to make money, and we signed some replacement player from the Salzburg. They got this new guy coming in. And it's like, dude, Erling Haaland is a one-of-a-kind masterpiece player. You know what I mean? The Dortmund fans are too fine with the fact that they're just going to get some new number 9 next year. It's like, no, you guys had Erling Haaland.
no, but
He's the tool you can use to win. You should have signed defenders last year. And now that you signed defenders for next year to improve the defense, keep Erling Haaland for just one more year. Like, figure it out. And to me, that's just bad sports management. It's just like, I
mean, we've talked about that before. I don't think there was no way they were going to keep him any longer than. And
but then
it's
use
fine.
him better, you know what I mean? Like, hire defenders with him.
Well, he also missed a
they're-
lot of. He missed a lot of time. He was hurt. I don't know. He was not that. I have questions about this Man City move. Is that a good fit? Like a lot of if you watch
That's
Man
gonna be
City,
interesting.
they spend a lot of time sort of lined up around the box.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, they don't
he's
have
more
a
of
number 9. They don't have a number 9.
Yeah,
and
but
this
is
will fix it,
is he the guy? Like, is he he's not particularly. Well,
I mean,
anyway, we'll
Erling
see.
Haaland is a world-class goal scorer. I think he'll be fine. I think he'll make any club.
He'll be fine. He'll be fine
Yeah.
wherever he goes. All right, we'll see.
Except for Manchester United. I think if he went to Manchester
I'm
United,
gonna
scoring no goals,
say-
sit on the bench.
I'm gonna say it's definitely next season. My prediction is after the end of next season, people are gonna be like, "Oh, he's been kind of a bust." He'll be like Jack Grealish this year.
Maybe they'll loan him back to Borussia Dortmund next season then. Maybe, because that's the thing. Maybe he doesn't play against them.
Okay, we'll see.
You know, if he's a bust, that means maybe he'll loan back to Dortmund.
No, I mean, I think he'll have some. I think it's going to be a long-term thing, but I don't think he's going to like just drop into their starting lineup and light the Prem on fire. I don't think that's going to happen, but we'll see.
Maybe. I mean, the dude is talented. I'll tell you. Daniel Young, amazing. Tottenham are going to be in the same group as Frankfurt and Red Bull Salzburg and Dortmund, I think. I'm curious. What
in the
group is that?
Champions League, yeah, there were some.
Is that true? Two German clubs can't be in the same.
No,
group,
they can't.
can
I don't think they're going to be in the same. But what he's referring to is that that Dortmund is in a very tough. They're in a low. They are a very low seed in the Champions League, so they are potentially.
Right.
They could potentially end up in a pretty tough group. But we'll
with
see.
Frankfurt winning the Europa League, does this mean there'll be 5 German clubs?
Yeah, that's what that
right?
means. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sweet. Maybe we'll have a better season this year in the Champions League. We had a pretty underwhelming year in the Champions League this year for the German clubs. We'll do a little
We'll
better.
see.
Any last thoughts? I have 2 more German topics. We had a big game day, but maybe before we talk about that game, we should maybe go and talk about that great Pellegrino Matarazzo, VfB, the other American manager.
I would have felt responsible. The Schnitzel, the Schnitzel boys' curse was reversed at the very last second. Whew.
Thank God we broke that curse.
Ooh.
Thank God for the curse. And the last minute, Endo scored a great header, and they were celebrating. You just love to see that. That's the top of the table, a little more boring, but the bottom of the table, very, very exciting. And while I was walking to the Mainz Stadium, on the screens everywhere was Pellegrino Matarazzo being interviewed because the whole league was looking at Pellegrino Matarazzo and Stuttgart. And 2-1, it opened with them missing a penalty, and then right away the Austrian striker scored off a header off the corner that was given right after the penalty. So he redeemed himself right away.
Yeah.
And then at the very last minute, in stoppage time, Endo scored the header for a 2-1 win, giving them the points necessary to jump above Hertha Berlin and be in that safe zone of 15th place, I believe they ended in, right?
Yeah.
And
then Hertha
Berlin got 16th place, which means they faced Hamburger SV, a club that, for whatever reason, connected themselves back out of the second division. And in Berlin, Hamburg on Thursday won 1-0.
With a pretty fluky goal, it has to be said.
Pretty
But Hamburg
goal.
playing very well, and Hertha really not playing well.
No.
And this is for those of us who don't know, Felix Magath. He's now 68 years old. He is an older man, but he was part of that big Hamburg team of the 80s where Horst Rubesch, Manny Karls, Felix Magath, they won the European Cup in, I think, 1983, maybe.
Did they win something in '87 too? I thought they won
anyway, so that was Hamburg at HSV at its very best, the golden days. And so for him to now come back as the coach of Hertha, first of all, if you had, when this hire was made, Hertha was like, we're going to get Felix Magath to save us from relegation. I was like, what? That's
a Hail Mary.
An odd choice.
Felix Magath, once the former coach of Fulham Football Club.
Mm-hmm. He has not had an uncheckered career as a coach. He's been a mixed bag. He's kind of by reputation.
Last gig was in China, right? And
by reputation, he's sort of an old school authoritarian kind of. So I did not think that this was going to work, and then the first game, usually these relegation playoffs, the first division team wins almost all of the time.
Right.
They're just a Bundesliga team. They have bigger budget, better players. Right. Usually the second Bundesliga team, once they get promoted, they upgrade if possible, unless they're Bochum, but most teams upgrade their squad when they get. So anyway, this relegation playoff is usually a foregone conclusion, and Hamburg really looked like they had a chance. They won that first game, but then today, Felix Magath came back to Hamburg and
haunted them.
2-0, 2-0. And the other interesting character in this game was none other than Kevin Prince Boateng, who the German Ghanaian, who now must be almost 40 years old. I don't know.
I know.
I don't know
Who does he play for?
I
He's
don't
played
know
for
how
HSV?
old he
No.
is. He was a big Schalke guy for a long time, and
Right.
then I think he was in Turkey for a while. He's had an illustrious career.
He's
He played for
famous
Ghana for a few World Cups.
He broke Michael Ballack's leg in the
Oh, yeah,
English
yeah,
Premier
yeah.
League right before the 2010 World Cup. So Michael Ballack, who was supposed to captain the national team, had to essentially effectively retire at that point. And Jérôme Boateng, his half brother, the famous Jérôme Boateng,
Yeah.
and him, I think, never spoke after that because it was like it was a brutal.
Yeah, there
tackle.
was some tension. They're the half brothers. Anyway, Kevin Prince Boateng, he did not play at all in the game on Thursday, and Felix Magath said today that he didn't think he could play 2 games back to back like that, and so he saved him for this game, and he started and played like almost the entire game. Which Freddy Bobic, who was the GM of Hertha, he was joking that he had not played that much for 10 years, in a game, and but he was very engaged, and Hertha just looked like completely different than in the first game, and they already, their 1-goal advantage, they already made up like 2 minutes in. They got a goal from a corner, and Hamburg just looked shell-shocked, and they never recovered. Right. And then in the second half, it was a Marvin Plattenhardt free kick over the top of the goalie, and that was it.
And
so Hertha stays up.
Yeah.
And Felix Magath said he's leaving. He's out. This was his assignment. He came with his assistants to save them, and now he's gone. They got to get a new coach, and he said he wants to go home. He wants to go home he wants to go home and chop some wood. That's what he's going to do. That's what Felix Magath said he's going to do.
Good for him. You know who else is on that 1983 Hamburg team? A very last-legged Franz Beckenbauer. Remember that?
What?
Franz Beckenbauer played for the New York Cosmos in the 77, 78 through 90 season. And then he went to play for Hamburg between 81 and 83. And then he came back. He did.
That's true? Why do I not know that?
He was probably a roster player.
I
only know it because I read an article about it on Bundesliga.com. Essentially, it's like the forgotten years. He played for HSV. It was the last Bundesliga club he ever played for.
But he didn't play. He was just on the...
Yeah, maybe. Let's see. But then he went to the 1983 New York Cosmos, which was a very kind of sad experience, and that was his last professional year. But he was in the Hamburg SV from the 1980 to 1982. 28 appearances.
I had no idea. 28 appearances, 0 goals. Wow.
So
I did not know that. He was not. I certainly had no idea that was happening at the time.
Little Franz Beckenbauer trivia. Yeah, I'm sure he was yesterday's news, so I don't know if maybe got a lot of coverage at the time. It's funny how stuff like that happens when you look back on it, it's like, oh, that was a big deal. But at the time, it was like, no, it was not a big deal. We got some Union Berlin love in the chat, which is also one of my favorite clubs. Talking about former Eastern clubs that do well, it's a list of one club, and that club is called Union Berlin. There is no other club.
Well, Dynamo Dresden is fighting to stay in Bundesliga 2, I guess.
The Bundesliga 2?
That's the all right.
Yeah.
Fair.
Okay. Good for them. I wish them the best. Let's see. I want to see Union Berlin in the same group as Arsenal, so Kate Endo can riot their defense. Heck yeah, I love that.
Wait, Union Berlin? Oh, right. Arsenal is in the
Europa
Europa
League.
Never
and
mind,
Union Berlin, despite me criticizing them over Christmas for selling Max Kruse, seemingly one of their key players, they still ended up pulling off a great year. And they finished in the Europa League. They're getting Europe.
Yeah, they did good.
Also, going back to Mainz Frankfurt, I talked to a Mainz fan. I asked him about the season. And he's like, 10th place. I couldn't be happier. I love it. He's like, you don't want Europe? He's like, I'm like, if it's Europa, you don't want Europe? And he's like, no, Europe is a curse. I wouldn't want Europe. We couldn't handle Europe.
Who cares about these teams that you've never heard of?
He couldn't have been happier this 10th place finish. And you just got to respect that. You know what I mean? It's like, good on you. He's like, we're not relegated. We're comfortably in the middle.
We've talked about that before, right? I think that is sort of the curse of the American idea of parity. It's like every team thinks they're going to win it, and then there's a lot of disappointment.
Yeah,
in the European
it's
model,
always
there's a
Seattle.
lot of teams. There's a lot of teams
That can't win it,
that
and
can't
they're
win it,
perfectly
and then
fine
it's
with
like
it.
10th place, great year.
Heck yeah,
Let's
we'll
do it
take
again.
it. We'll take it. It was a grandfather with his grandson taking his son out to the game, and I was just like, "How was the year?" He's like, "Can't complain. We had a great year, and we're having a good time." It's just like, good on you guys.
love it.
So I just thought it was lovely. I would like to buy an Union Berlin jersey. Where can I buy one? Good question. I go on the Bundesliga.com website.
These days, everybody ships to America. I think this is a big.
But
is
not
that not
all
true?
clubs have. No, you're probably right. But not all clubs have like online shops. So
What?
Union Berlin probably does have an online shop. Go to unionberlin.de or whatever. Go to Bundesliga. Click on their logo and click on their online shop. In fact, you can probably click on the website in English. And then
eBay.
and
They're on
the
eBay.
online shop,
They're
you
on
should be able to buy
eBay for.
some and ship it.
They're on eBay for $25. So you could try that. As well.
Modern.
Looks like it.
Hey,
I
let's
mean,
do that.
listen. I just spent 10 seconds looking at it. I think they can be
So
found.
there
I
you
think
go.
these days, yeah, Union Berlin. I don't know about them specifically. They're a pretty small operation, but even Bochum jerseys you can now get sent to the U.S. So this has improved. They have improved these kinds of. It's probably possible. Also, there's all these. There's soccer.com and there's.
Right. But they don't have, like, soccer.com is really just where you buy a Barcelona jersey or a Man City jersey. Like, smaller, more obscure clubs are harder to come. Like they have random stuff. Like here, if I go on soccer.com right now, there might be, like, a Bochum jersey from 3 years ago, and that's the only, like, obscure jersey. Everything else is just Bayern München or Borussia Dortmund, and that's all you're going to get.
Yeah, no, you're
So
probably
on
right.
soccer.com right now. Let me look up Union Berlin. Union Berlin. It's a lot of Philadelphia Union stuff. It's just Philly Union stuff. They do not have any Union Berlin here.
When you look for Union.
Yep, Union Berlin, and it's just Philadelphia Union Berlin. I wonder when NYCFC will have a friendly versus a German club. Well, the New York Red Bulls have a friendly. No, they don't. They have a friendly
Against
the Spanish
Barcelona.
club.
Yeah. We haven't done a lot of that. I think they're always a little bit of a mixed bag. These games, where these
Right.
because the MLS team is
crazy
the MLS team is in the middle of the season, and then the
European teams in
European
preseason.
team is in preseason, and it's just very. They're just very obvious cash grabs, there's no real sporting value, and
What I will say is,
I'm actually happy that NYCFC has not done that so far in their history.
when was the last time NYCFC played Man City?
Never, to my knowledge. I don't think they've ever
Really?
played them.
I'm surprised Man City doesn't come to New York for a preseason tour and gets a friendly with their sister club. You know what I mean?
Well, they do this like international, whatever that's called, the International Champions Cup or whatever.
Right.
They have these other
ICC.
preseason friendlies, so they just play each other, and they don't. No, they don't. They have never. For a while in the early days, they would send players. They would send like a contingent of players to train with City or the City Academy, but that also didn't take. Like that was just like a couple of times that happened. I don't know. They're just separate. They are just separate teams. There's no real. I don't know. They don't need to.
There have been. So here's a little MLS history for you, Bjorn, and we're going to go back into the reaches of my mind. There have been many attempts over the years to do club partnerships, and yeah, club partnerships always end in nothing. Like the clubs have nothing to do with each other, and because to be a club, you really just got to do you. Like, what are you supposed to do with another club? However, there have been a couple MLS Bundesliga club partnerships. I can't list them all, but a couple notable ones is the Colorado Rapids. Once upon a time, this would have been the early to mid aughts, had a partnership with Borussia Mönchengladbach. Did you know that?
No.
And Borussia Mönchengladbach would come to Colorado and train over the summer, and then Colorado would go to Gladbach and train over the winter. And that happened, I think, 2 or 3 years in a row or something. At least that was the idea. And I don't think they shared any players. It was just this training partnership that they had between the Colorado Rapids and Borussia Mönchengladbach. Real Salt Lake had a partnership with Hannover 96 once upon a time.
All right. No idea.
Real Salt Lake sold, Hannover sold Clint Mathis to Real Salt Lake.
And he then ended up with the Red Bulls eventually.
Great American Clint Mathis. Well, Clint Mathis started at the Red Bulls. I think that was his first club. I don't know if.
And then he went. Okay, right.
He was a Metro Stars player. He scored 5 goals in one game. Clint Mathis was an American super legend for like his first 2 years. He had a big thing, and Bayern München wanted to sign him. They put pen to paper on a contract.
What?
But MLS said no, and through Pepsi, they paid Clint Mathis $1 million a year, which was illegal in MLS. You're not allowed to pay a player $1 million a year. But Clint Mathis got
I think this was a while ago. I don't think you need to. Don't need to whisper.
I'm just saying that the MLS rules can be a very much like, well, if it works for the league office, it worked. So he did not sign with Bayern München. And then his career kind of stalled after that. And on a free, he went to Hannover and destroyed at Hannover. He was a big breath of fresh air. He was doing great for about 6 months. And then the new coach, Ivar Linen, benched him. And then when Clint Mathis came off the bench and scored a winner, he went right up to Ivar Linen and did this. Which means about time that you put me on the field. And you're not allowed to do that in Germany. And he never played in Germany ever again after that.
Ivar Linen?
Ever played in Germany ever? Yeah.
Ivar Linen.
Who has a podcast, by the way, which I highly recommend. No, Ivar Linen was not into it. And he was.
Who has a podcast? Ivar Linen or
Ivar Linen? Ivar Linen and I think another coach have this cool podcast I recommend.
I gotta look into that.
It's very cool. It's called Linen and something or something like that. It's these two old Bundesliga coaches talking about football. But anyway, and then he went back to Real Salt Lake, and I think part of the agreement between that sale was some sort of partnership between both clubs. Like their youth players were supposed to come train and blah, 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 blah. But I think that also fizzled out. But it's just funny, all these weird partnerships. Like, what do any club really get out of it? So...
Well, right now, I mean, I think Dallas and FC Bayern have a thing going, and they are sending youth players there. I think that seems to be a thing.
That is probably the best partnership I think I've seen. That's a good point. Now, granted, I think Bayern München is I think Bayern München is getting more of the benefits out of it because they're getting the best of the best they can.
Right. Yeah,
they're getting there. They got their what's his face, the center back. What's his name?
Chris Richards.
Justin Shea is going to make his way to Bayern München unless he already did. I don't remember. They're essentially Bayern München get first dibs on their best players. And FC Dallas, what did FC Dallas ever get from Chris Richards? He was just one of their youth players. But I don't know. Maybe there's some effects I'm not seeing. Maybe their excellent training is affecting the Dallas players better. I don't know.
We'll see. Yeah.
I don't know.
They're doing pretty well.
But a little short history in the relationship between Bundesliga clubs and MLS clubs, which is a perfect topic for this German-American soccer podcast.
A perfect topic.
Perfect topic. Speaking of topics, do we have any other topics?
I think we may have done it.
Leeds is saved. Stuttgart saved. Both American coaches just missing the drop.
Yep.
Eintracht Frankfurt wins
MLS.
RB Leipzig.
MLS saved Leeds. That's the headline, really.
MLS saved Leeds. Well, the reason we're doing Europe is because that's really all she wrote. Other than the Champions League final, there's not much to talk about next week, and we'll talk about the roster. We'll talk about MLS.
I'm going to Belson Stadium tomorrow night, top of a St. John's artificial turf stadium on top of a parking garage to see Bruce Arena.
Wait a minute, Bruce Arena's going to be there?
If you want to see Bruce Arena coach on top of a parking garage, tomorrow night is Wednesday night. Wednesday night's the night.
I do want to see that.
That's what's happening.
Why is he going to be there? Is he?
Because we're playing the Revs in an Open Cup game.
Oh, it's an Open Cup game. So it's not NYCFC 2.
No, okay. It's NYCFC 1, which probably is going to look a lot like NYCFC 2, I'm imagining. I don't know how many
No, Open Cup.
who he's gonna run out, but yeah, no, it's Bruce Arena is gonna be there unless he calls it sick or something. But
He called. I think he's done that before.
he's
Did he do that in a game? Richie Williams.
scheduled to appear. I don't know. Yeah.
Oh, Richie, you got this game. You got this game,
this.
Richie. Don't worry. His assistant.
I'm
Richie
not
Williams,
going to
former
Queens.
head coach of the New York Red Bulls. Yeah. You're not going to Queens on Wednesday to see Bruce Arena?
No,
coach
I'm
from
going.
Parking
I'm going.
Garage?
But is Bruce
Yeah.
Bruce really going to go? We'll see.
He's from New York. He loves New York. He loves coaching at Yankee Stadium. Have you read Bruce's book? I have. It's a great book.
I have not.
It talks about his upbringing in Long Island and coming in the city and loving lacrosse and his Italian great uncle who had like a deli, and in that deli was a picture of the old 1934 I think Italian team or something. It's a cool. I love the obscure American soccer world of the 70s and the 80s. And the Bruce's book is a great.
And nobody represents that world like Bruce.
Better, it's true. He was literally a coach when he graduated college at 22. His first job was to be a college coach in Portland, and he was a coach. He's been a coach his whole life. He was a great professional lacrosse player. He played the 1976 Lacrosse World Cup or whatever. He did play a little minor league soccer. He played, and he was supposed to play for the Hawaiian Surf. But he's like, screw it, and he just became a college coach and just did that for the rest of his life.
He's the German Felix Magath. No, that's unfair. Actually, he's much more.
He's the American Felix Magath.
Right.
Much more. Well, Felix Magath was probably the best coach in Germany for a while. I think he would have been the German national team coach in the early mid-aughts. Don't you think? When he was coaching for Bayern München.
He was not super popular amongst the players, really, ever, anywhere he went.
I mean, he won. He won with Bayern. He won with Wolfsburg. He won with Stuttgart. I mean,
yeah, the Wolfsburg thing was crazy. There was a rumor. This is the last thing I'm going to say. There was a rumor that Wolfsburg was trying to poach Bochum's not only coach but also GM. That Sebastian Schnitzel and Thomas Reis were going to go together, leave Bochum and go to Wolfsburg, and people were upset on Twitter for a couple of days. I don't think this did not seem. Sebastian Schinzelords, he has Wolfsburg connections, and I think this was just drummed up to help because they're both due for a contract extension. So I think this may have been just drummed up to help their negotiations. But people were pretty pissed. They were like, "This we're used to losing players, but you're gonna just take everyone."
Our entire executive staff.
People were upset, but it doesn't seem like that's happening.
One last thing too, I believe there's also rumored that Max Ebel maybe will resurface in Bayern München as Sportdirektor. So I think Bayern München are lost their. Was it Salahamidzic? Bayern München,
he's gone.
Also had some turnaround.
He left.
Bayern München had some turnaround.
Did I miss that? Oh,
yeah. We'll talk about it next week. They had. I think there's a bunch of rumors that there might be a shuffle in their executive office, and I've heard Max Ebel's name thrown around. So that's
there's definitely a whole. Yeah, we haven't gotten into that yet, but there's a lot of coaching. The coaching carousel is only beginning to spin in the Bundesliga. There's going to be a bunch of stuff to talk about there, but we'll leave that for next time.
One last question from Daniel Young here. What should known MLS DP players know or prepare themselves for if they want a move for a top 5 European league? The reality is there's not much to do to prepare yourself. It's going to be a culture shock. It's going to be a quality of play shock. It's just how good are you at adapting? How serious are you at plugging into your new club? It's such an imperfect science. You know what I mean? Some players can thrive, some players sink, and it's just hard to know.
And it's yeah. I mean, we've talked about this before. The whole moving to it's very. I don't think there's any general. I don't think it pays to talk in generalities about that. It's always very, very depends. It all very much depends on the person and the situation. And
I mean, let's look at a few examples. Miguel Almiron, right? Is he lighting it up at Newcastle? Not.
He's done
really.
All right. He's done all right.
Good. But Joseph Martinez was an obscure Serie A player, came here, ripped up the league. And if he,
well, and Martinez,
and he
knew what he had. Like I think that's always my thing. If you are in a good, because a lot of, there's like a handful of there's some players where it's just about sheer talent. Lionel Messi, Mbappe, wherever you put them, they're going to be great. But for the vast majority of professional players, fit and how you fit into a system and how you're working with the coach and all of those things are so important. And you can go from, and so if you're somewhere where things are working, like Joseph Martinez, or you should think about it. You should think about whether you just kind of let yourself be plopped into a completely unknown. And certainly the people like Bill Hamid, when he went to Denmark or whatever, it's like, oh, Europe or bust. I'll go anywhere. And it's like, I don't think.
And the Danish league is, pretty comparable to MLS. And
I think the Danish league is significantly worse than MLS at this point. I think
we've had this discussion many times. I don't know if it's significantly worse. I don't rate obscure European leagues so low. I think they're not terrible.
All right.
But I don't think it's better. That's true. And I wouldn't say Danish league's better than MLS.
It's not necessarily. It's not always a step up. I mean, of course, Daniel's talking about top 5 leagues, so that is a step up.
Germany, France, England, Spain.
But I think I think if a team really wants you, if they're willing to pay a lot of money, then that's good. It's an opportunity. Of course, it's a dream. It's what people want. But don't just go just to go. That's
if Joseph Martinez, let's say he went to Augsburg, I don't know if he would have had a much better time than Pepe. I don't know.
Well, he seems really ravaged by injuries. He doesn't seem like he's the same guy. But
that just means in general.
But right.
There was when Bradley Wright Phillips was scoring up a storm and scoring 37 goals in a season. There were rumors that he was going to go to Brentford, one of his old clubs, and Brentford was either a championship club or a low-level Prem club at the time, just like they are now. It didn't happen, but it's like, I think on ESPN they asked Steve Nicol, like, does MLS prepare you for England? He's just like, no, MLS doesn't prepare you for anything. It's just it's apples and oranges. He's like, Bradley Wright Phillips will go to Brentford.
It's just a different level of competitiveness and.
And there's a good chance a 31-year-old Bradley Wright Phillips would not have affected Brentford in any positive way, But maybe he would have. Who knows? Clint Dempsey went to Fulham before the 2014 World Cup, and it was a pretty forgettable stint. It was not the same Clint Dempsey we remember. So
right.
Like for
it all depends. It all depends.
50-50. There's a good chance he'll sit on the bench. I don't know.
Well, Tati has the he has the bite and the work rate that will serve him well anyway.
Has he been as clinical this year as he was last year?
He's not clinical was never. That was never his attribute. You never thought like, oh, he's a clinical finisher. He's a hard worker. His work rate is incredible. He's a pain for anyone to defend against. He's just a pest in terms of his. And his finishing comes from that. Like he is but I think that attitude and that work rate will serve him no matter where he goes. Yeah. But
I've got two questions for you. I know we have to end. It's a mega episode.
Mega.
Here we go. If Christian Pulisic was offered to trade for Tati Castellanos, and Castellanos goes to Chelsea and Christian Pulisic comes to NYCFC, would you rather keep Tati Castellanos or would you welcome that trade?
So no financial.
It's just a straight up trade. It's really just about the quality of player.
No, I take Pulisic, sure.
All right, I think it's a good answer because the dude is a little bit of a beast. I think.
I think
in MLS, I think he'd crush MLS.
I think Pulisic
But it's
would be
interesting to
pretty
think
good.
about.
I think Pulisic would be good in MLS for sure. Oh yeah.
Now, the biggest question of the whole podcast, the biggest question of my trip to Germany, the question, Bjorn.
Yeah.
Did Stefan eat a currywurst when he was in Germany, or did he commit to his vegetarian convictions, and was he vegetarian? That's the big question. In the chat, did Stefan eat a wurst in Germany, or did he stick to his vegetarian guns?
I know
Bjorn,
the answer.
what do you think?
I think I know the answer. Did you tell me?
Oh, did I? I hope I didn't. Oh, maybe I did.
I don't think I don't think you have.
You tell me the answer. You tell me the answer.
I think you stuck by your vegetarianism.
So the answer is I did not have a currywurst. Okay? And the chat, no response. Now wait for it. I did not tell you, my friend.
I didn't? Okay, I knew it then.
Because I did have a currywurst.
Oh.
I had 2 currywursts.
Oh, so I'm wrong. Okay.
You are wrong. I cheated, unfortunately. And a thumbs up from Tom. Just a thumbs up.
I mean,
I cheated. Firstly, out of entire necessity. Because in Germany, unlike what I'm used to in LA or New York, towns are closed. Like I went to a nice town and it was Ruhetag that day.
Oh, and
which
then
is a German.
There's only one place to get food. Yeah, right.
Currywurst Buddha down.
I mean, I will also say, depending on where you had it, there may not have been that much meat in it.
Well, then I said, screw it. I had a great currywurst at the Currywurst Buddha at the train station. So the next day I went to a nice restaurant. I wanted to get a Riesen Currywurst because you can get a kleines Currywurst.
Yeah.
I went a Riesen Currywurst, means big currywurst. And I had the most disgusting currywurst I think I've ever had from this restaurant. They put a bunch of peppers on it. And I'm just like, what is this? Like, this is, and they said it's a Mietzer. It's from Mainz. No, it was in Koblenz.
So it was not.
It's a Koblenzer currywurst, and it's just a type I'd never recognized.
Outside, you should not. If you eat a currywurst outside of the Ruhrgebiet, where I'm from, you're taking your life into your hands. I think all bets are off.
But the currywurst I had the day prior, which was nearby, was
you got lucky.
It's delicious. Yeah.
Daniel wants to know what is it made out of. I think
pork.
I think pork
right? maybe a little veal.
It's advertised as pork. There's they used to have these. The joke was, they used to have these, because it's like a fast food kind of a thing.
Right.
So you don't know. And they have these meatballs, frikadellen, at the same place, and the joke used to be that. Can I have a roll? Can I have a roll with my frikadelle? And the person would be like, oh no, it's already in there. And then
because it's all
and then you would
pretty much
because it's mostly bread. And then the person would say, well, okay, can I get another roll? And the person would say, oh no, that's also already in there. So
German fast food humor. No. But what I will say is I don't regret it because it was delicious. The one that was delicious, and you really can't get a good currywurst outside of Germany. It's very hard to. They grill it in a way where the outside of the wurst almost was like breading.
In Bochum. Bochum is the world capital of currywurst. Derek Ray will anytime Derek Ray does a Bochum game on ESPN, he will tell you about it. He will show off his currywurst knowledge. Yeah,
I thought it was Berlin. Because there's a museum.
Yeah, they say that but they're wrong.
But I also the currywurst up in Ostsee and North Germany where I'm from are pretty dang good.
I am a homer when it comes to currywurst. Yeah. I am a homer.
I love.
All right, well.
So the answer is I cheated. Sorry, everybody.
Congratulations. When in Rome. I'm sorry you had a bad one. That's upsetting.
I know, and I chose. Like this is a big deal. It was like
peaches.
Right.
It's like peaches. When you have a bad peach, it can really put you off peaches for a while.
Really? That sounds like a very specific story. I don't think that's a general saying people say. Sounds like you had a bad peach, my friend. Okay.
All right. Well,
Tris, this is an epic. We have 3 episodes to make up, and
it was great to be back. It was a pleasure to be back.
Yeah, and Europe is lovely. And next week it's USA. We got the roster. We got USA Morocco. We got friendlies coming up. We got the goalkeeper.
All American.
Gaga Sonina is American. We got NYCFC soaring high like an eagle. We got New York Red Bulls.
Let's see if we can
doing
beat
okay.
Bruce. Can we beat Bruce and Queens? Can we beat Bruce and Queens? We'll see.
Can you beat Mr. Brooklyn and Queens? Only one way to find out. All right, thank you very much. This has been the Schnitzel Boys. Like and subscribe and tell your friends. Leave us a review. Rate us. Tell your friends. Enjoy it. Join the party like Daniel and Tom here. Be a Schnitzel Cuff. Be part of the gang. We're hanging out in this party every week.
That's right. Unless we have
Woche.